Hello, I'm Regina McCann-Hess, president of Forge Wealth Management, and welcome to our Women in Wealth series. Today, I have a new friend with me. And Wendy, can you tell us who you are, what you do, and what you love about what you do?
I can. Yes. Thanks for having me, Regina. I'm Wendy Wright. I am a financial therapist. And so, for those who have never heard of a financial therapist, feel free to raise your hand safely. If you're driving, don't. But, because it's still very new for people, what that means is I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist who is trained in financial therapy and I'm also a trained money coach. So I blend those and work with people one-on-one or couples. And I work with people globally because I blend those two things as a therapeutic consultation because there's not a diagnosis yet for a financial disorder or money disorder, even though the way I describe a disorder is how much is it interrupting your life? And if money is interrupting your life, then we want to talk. Financial therapy can make a difference. And I love what I do. I see people break out of shame every day when it comes to money, and that allows them to do things differently and feel more freedom and satisfaction and less judgment.
Yeah, wow. And I love what you do. I'm in the financial world,
Thanks.
but
Mm-hmm.
you and your services are so needed because so many people don't have a healthy relationship with money. We were, talking a little
Mm-hmm.
bit before we hit record, and it's, not like you said, not about what you have in the bank. It's about how you
Mm-hmm.
handle it. So tell us a little bit more because I am fascinated by the
Mm-hmm.
help that you're bringing the people.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'll tell you a little bit about how I describe the process. So when I meet with somebody in a discovery call, um, often they really have just heard of financial therapy, but they don't really know what it is, which is fair because not a lot of people have gone to a financial therapist yet. So when I describe it, I will talk about the fact that we're looking at the relationship with money. We're looking at the beliefs, the mindsets. And I describe a mindset as a belief that may or may not be a truth, because usually they're not truths, such as if you have a scarcity mindset, you believe there's never enough. That's not a truth. If you have an abundance mindset, you believe there'll always be enough. That's not a truth. It's a belief. So we want to look at if you have a perfectionism mindset, you believe perfection's possible. And that is not a truth. So we
No,
look at this
sadly,
stuff.
it's not.
Yeah, I know, I know, I know.
It's
Personal
not.
experience here. Yes. So we look at this and we look at how it shows up in the relationship with money. And so we kind of do a lot of talking first. We look at the story. We look, where did some of the beliefs get started? Often they got started in that transition time where our brain moved from concrete thinking to abstract thinking, which is typically around middle school, junior high, depending on how that showed up in your life. And then we begin to look at how can we shift that money mindset. This is what my course is about. It's about the shifting of it. And it helps to begin to see that the changes show up in small ways, but it's almost like a ripple effect. The small changes turn into bigger changes. But a lot of it, what we're doing is we're just identifying where shame shows up and how to use different tools to counteract shame. And then that allows you to move into doing things differently with money.
Wow. So impactful. Unbelievably impactful.
Thanks. Yeah, it
Mhm.
really is. Like every day I'm in a session, sessions with people across the world. Like money problems are not just American. They're not even just North American. Like I have Australian and clients in Europe and things like that too, because money problems, money anxiety, things like that are global. They're human.
Yeah. Yeah, they are human. And it just depends
Mm-hmm.
on, how you were raised, did people sit at the table and talk about it? Or is it
Mm-hmm.
typically it's a hushed conversation, like, oh, we're going to whisper over
Mm-hmm.
here about our money and we're not going to talk about it like a healthy
Mm-hmm.
conversation. Like you talk about everything else. I think two things that don't get talked about in our society, which
Mm-hmm.
is sad: money and mental health. I mean, those are the
Mm-hmm.
two biggest things that I can think of that usually those conversations are behind closed doors when, if you help someone and you talk about it, good things can come of it.
Yeah, yeah. It really helps. But it helps to get support around that communication because it can be so terrifying.
Mhm.
Like really looking at the way I kind of see it and visualize it too is the first communication that we want to shift is our own internal dialogue. So when we can begin to make shifts there, then we can begin to make external dialogue shifts. So if you believe you are stupid and bad with money, for instance, it's a very common belief, then you will do everything to avoid a conversation about it, right? Because you believe the conversation is just going to roll back on you and point the finger at how stupid you are. So, and to be honest, maybe that's happened. Maybe people in your life have not been kind and have been, or maybe they thought they were trying to help by pointing out, well, that was dumb. Why'd you do that? But that is actually not a helpful teaching tool. So, and that's, important to recognize. So when we begin to have that compassion and look at ourselves without, I've created 10 principles of financial therapy just to give people a frame for what we're walking through. And the first one has to come first. The others come in whatever order seems to fit the client. But the first one, we start with abundant, compassionate curiosity and zero judgment. And that right there levels the playing field and allows them to have a different. So instead of I'm bad with money, I encourage them to shift to I don't like that I do this with money, or I wish I did this more, or whatever it is. We want to soften that dialogue. Then they can begin to have less shame and judgment and less like that. When we have a lot of shame, we tend to do that fight, flight, or freeze, kind of thinking about that. So when we move out of that, we can move into talking about it differently.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so fascinating. I am so glad that you're, in this area and working with people who need this help.
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Can you see
yeah.
that being helpful for people, and money and
Yeah, yeah, there's a lot of people who could use that kind of therapy. And just knowing that you can find a better way to relate to money. And
hmm
just because you were brought up a certain way, or in an older generation was told not to worry their pretty little head about it. And
hmm
even if they can have that reset, and with
hmm
guidance and education, they can now get past that fear and handle that conversation a little bit more
Yeah.
positively.
Yeah.
Love it. Absolutely love it.
Yeah.
Well, tell us where, like, if someone's listening to this and say, wow,
hmm
I could use a little bit more
hmm
information about that. How do they find more
hmm
information about your company and what you're doing?
Yeah. Well, my company is Financial Therapy Solutions, and then it's .com. So
Mhm.
financialtherapysolutions.com. And there you'll see different resources because there's different points of entry. Maybe you want to do a short journaling exercise. I have a 5-day journaling exercise there, or ready for a money mindset shift. And you can dive into that course material. It is it's got 6 steps towards shifting your money mindset, a lot of journaling, a lot of ways to approach money differently, and tools. So resources there. I do workshops occasionally. So getting on my email list, things like that will help people be looped in.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. And did you mention social medias?
Oh yeah, social media is at Financial Therapy Solutions.
All right. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, that's pretty cool. We'll definitely have to make sure we're following you as well. It's a
Oh, good.
great,
Yes.
great
hmm
avenue. So let's
Yeah.
shift a little bit,
Okay.
and talk about some of the challenges that you have faced as a professional woman.
Yeah. Well, I would say one of the biggest challenges that I faced was not having someone clearly state to me that I can make a good income. Like really, and some of that came out of getting divorced. I
Mhm.
really had to, my divorce was kind of one of those, which a lot of people have. So I'm saying that because probably women can relate. It's sort of like cleared the table, of a lot of things in my life, other than my kids. They're still with me, but of course, but really made me rethink, how do I want to explain anything to my kids? Like, so when it came to money, I had to kind of reset my own mindset, and I got support. I got some, worked with some people, and began to recognize, because my natural mindset was a little bit of blend of perfectionism and scarcity, and just and that belief is, if I'm saving, commonly will believe, well, I saved 50 cents on that, or I saved half price on that. But that is not saving. That is not putting money in the savings account. And so when I help women begin to see that, but it is a way that women can think that they're kind of, trying to justify, what they're spending. They're trying to have it sort of an income by saving, but they don't name it that. So it doesn't have the meaning they're hoping it has. We do that a lot with money. We'll do a behavior, but we don't name what we're trying to communicate with it. So it doesn't get the meaning. And once we begin to add that meaning, it's really cool. It's really powerful, because it just makes such a difference in your decision making. So for me, beginning to recognize some beliefs I had about income, some beliefs I had about savings, and shifting really in small steps. Small shifts made a big difference. It really does. So, and getting support, it doesn't have to be like a financial therapist, but it can be a friend, it can be a colleague, it can be a coach, someone who says, you can do this. Because for women, just in particular, like I want to really encourage people to know your numbers. If you've been scared to know the numbers in your family, like, step into it smallly, but know them so that you have the confidence that you can stand on your own 2 feet. It makes a big difference in your sleep, for one, like the tension in your neck, like all these kind of things. So that was one thing that, once I worked through some of that, it was really helpful for me.
Yeah. Yeah. You're like singing to the choir. I love everything.
Yeah.
I'm like, yes,
Good. Yes.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's fabulous. Awesome. Awesome.
Mhm.
And great that you were able to find that in yourself and do it for
Mhm.
yourself, and now helping other people do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Impressive.
Yeah.
Impressive. So let's
Thanks.
take a time machine visit to the future and talk about
Okay.
your retirement vision. What's
Yeah.
that look like?
Like, what's a perfect day of retirement?
What's your vision? I
Okay.
mean, it's
Yeah.
not your grandma's retirement anymore. What
Mm-hmm.
do you see in your
Right.
vision?
Right. Well, no big surprise here, I don't think. I live in Colorado on purpose. So I would be skiing, and I would hopefully at that point have figured out, not really, I'm just kidding, how to do a backflip. I'm just totally kidding. So my kids, don't freak out. I'm not really going to try to do a backflip. But in other words, I want to be strong. I want to be a strong skier. I want to be doing that. I want to be enjoying nature and hiking and being outside, and um, just enjoying the seasons here. I'm a big fan of Colorado. So that, but having, what to me, coming back to money, what makes that possible is knowing that I have a plan in place, and that the plan is running in the background. And so that's what I encourage people to do a lot, and very specifically use the word plan, not budget, because budget tends to have some negative connotations for people. So part of what we do is come into what word works for you, what word represents flexibility, because that's another one of my principles of financial therapy, is a plan is only as good as the adjustment process. And that's usually where they fall apart, in the adjustment process part. So we work on communication, flexibility, decreasing perfectionism, or whatever it is, so that the plan can be adjusted. Because, as you know, Regina, money is never perfect, and it's never done. It's always changing.
Right.
And so that's kind of when I think about retirement, I think about having a plan in place that's running in the background, that knows how to shift when shifts are needed, because they may be, so that I can go and do the things I enjoy.
Yeah, that's fabulous. And I'm pretty sure I have a friend who lives in Colorado. I want to say she lives in Boulder, but they just
Mhm.
had their first snow the other day. So I'm
Oh,
not
we did.
sure.
Yeah. It's
Oh, you did?
still
Okay.
outside my backyard. Yep. We had like 8 or 9 inches over the weekend. Yes. But then the cool thing about living in Denver, in the Denver area, because we're down from the mountain, is it melts in a day. Like it'll be gone by the end of today. And we're like, okay, that was fun. Yeah.
Oh, really? That's pretty
Hmm.
impressive. Because
Yeah.
us Northeast Coast people, when it snows, it
Yeah.
stays around for a while, but we can't imagine like
Yeah.
the amount of snow that you guys get is
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah.
pretty big.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, fun, fun. Well, I am in love with what you're doing, of course, because you're
Oh,
like,
thanks.
we're singing, we're doing
Hmm.
like similar
Oh,
different
yeah.
things and helping people just in different ways.
Hmm.
And I think there's just so much need for that out there. So I am so happy to
Hmm.
have you here, Wendy. Thank you
Oh,
so
for
much for joining me
sure.
today.
Yeah. My pleasure.
Mm,
I've
mm.
loved it.
Yeah, awesome. And then I want to thank everyone else for joining us. Again, I'm Regina Hess, president of Forge Wealth, and our website's forgewealth.com. I'm on Facebook and YouTube at Forge Wealth. Instagram, it's Forge Wealth Management, and LinkedIn is Regina McCann Hess. Go make it a great day. And your call to action is to, just be present in your mind with your planning of your money, not your budgeting, your planning of your money, as Wendy
Hmm.
said. I'm
Love it.
stealing little tidbits.
Do. Yeah. Yeah. Share it.
Yep, absolutely. All right, thanks, guys.